Do you have pain in your knee? Do you have pain walking, squatting, going up and down stairs? Today I'm going to show you my favorite moves to address that knee pain so you can move in a pain-free range of motion. Hi, I'm Daniel Giordano, Doctor of Physical Therapy. Today we're going to show you my favorite moves to address knee pain so that you can move in a pain-free aspect throughout your day. So to address the knee pain, we're going to start with some soft tissue work to increase blood flow back to the area, increase the pliability of the tissue surrounding the knee. We're going to start with the calf. The calf is what we use all day long. When we walk, we push on our toe, it activates the calf. So if we're using the calf too much, it might get a little tight. Sam's going to start with a foam roller. So Sam's going to have his butt on the ground and he's just going to start moving up and down. Foam rolling should not hurt. If it hurts, you might be having too much body weight compression on the area. So we're gonna start with our butt low. If this is not doing anything for you, we're gonna lift our butt in the air, good, and then start moving in side to side. So we're getting all aspects, so not just up and down. Make sure you're going up and down, side to side. What I like to do is 1 inch at a time, and then go side to side, and then move up again or move down the calf and go side to side. If this still isn't enough body weight compression for you, if you feel like this is too easy, then cross this foot over this leg, lift the body weight up in the air, and then side to side again, okay? So that is the way you increase or decrease the compression force on the area so the foam rolling is not hurting you. Lastly, what I wanna show you on the foam roller is what we call a pin and stretch. So if you're feeling one spot of that calf is just super tight, we're gonna lift our butt in the air, feel that spot, and then start pumping the foot up and down. And then move side to side, find that spot again, and then pump up and down. So we're going through that range of motion, so we're pinning and stretching the tissue, hopefully increasing some blood flow back to the area and decreasing tension on that calf. So once you're done with 30 to 60 seconds of foam rolling, then we'll move on to the stretching aspect. So next we're gonna come into that half kneeling position, 1 foot forward. Because we just targeted the calf, now we're gonna target the hamstring above the joint on the posterior aspect of the joint. So we're gonna use props. Not everyone has this full range of motion. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use 2 yoga blocks, 1 on each side where Sam's gonna put his hands. And then what he's gonna do is just come up into a lunge position, straightening out the front leg, so hips up, and you're gonna feel that stretch all through that hamstring, okay? And then come down. Also dynamically stretching, right? Active stretch, come up. 1, 2, 3, come back down. Keep continuing. Temporary increasing that range of motion, increasing blood flow circulation back to the area, and decreasing stress on the posterior aspect of your knee. And you see also how he's tucking his head, he's not keeping up, so no impingement on the neck. Now we're gonna stay in the half kneeling position and we're gonna go into the adductor rock. We're gonna bring the right foot out to the side, good. And then what we're gonna do is just start rocking our body towards that knee. You're gonna feel a stretch through your adductor, not just on that right side, on the left side. So make sure you're doing this on both sides so you really target the inner thigh muscles or grind muscles. And those are super important because they attach on the medial aspect of your knee. So if you're having tightness in here, it could be causing some compression forces right on the inner part of the knee. Do 8 to 10 of these on each side just to loosen up the tissue and increase some more blood flow back to the area and improve your flexibility around that knee joint. Now we've targeted the calf, the hamstring, and the adductor or grind. Now we're gonna hit that big muscle, that quad. So we're gonna use a bench to prop our position back up on here. So come to half kneeling position, put his foot here on the bench itself. So once we've got that foot up here on the bench, we've created that stretch, that knee flexion moment here. So now Sam's gonna lift his arm up and then lean backwards on a diagonal to get that stretch all through that quad and into that hip flexor. So lean back, 1, 2, 3, and then come forward. If this is too much pressure on the stretch, only go through your range of motion. If you say, hey Dan, lifting up over the head was too much, keep the hands on our hips, and let's just lean backwards. Now we have less of a stretch on the area, not targeting the hip flexors, more targeted directly just on the quad itself. And then when coming out of this, make sure you slowly come out of this position so there's no stress on the knee joint during the transition. So now that we've mobilized the tissue, stretched the tissue, now we need to stabilize the tissue so that joint itself is more stable and stronger than it was before. So we're gonna start in a modified side plank position and we're really gonna target the hips. If we can control the hip muscles or increase the strength in the hip, we should be able to decrease some compression force at the knee itself. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stay in this modified side plank position, keeping the bottom knee on the ground, prop the elbow underneath the shoulder, and we're gonna lift the bottom hip up off the ground, and then at the same time, we're gonna lift this knee up into that fire hydrant position, and then come down all in one series, and repeat. So the reason we're focusing on targeting the glute medius muscle with knee pain is because when you walk or run, the peak load is coming through your glute medius muscle. So if we can stabilize that glute medius muscle, we should be able to decrease compression force at the knee and transfer the mechanical stress back to the hip, offloading the knee itself. Let's do 5 to 8 of these. Make sure you're doing these on both sides because yes, we're working this top tissue, lifting the leg in the air, but we're also working that bottom hip, pushing through the knee, activating through that hip. So it's really important to do these on both sides. So now we're in the standing position. So we transfer to the standing position to make sure that your body understands that weight-bearing position that your knee goes through every day when we walk, okay? So we have the band here, we have it on our ankles, not at the knees. The reason that we have it more down the chain is because it shows that the further the band is away from your hips, the more glute medius activation we'll get and less hip flexor activation. And our target is now mechanical stress on the hip to offload the knee. So the first thing that Sam is gonna do is he's gonna hinge his butt backwards, table through the hips, slight bend in the knee, 20 to 30 degree angle at that knee. Good. And we're gonna focus on pushing the right foot through the floor as hard as we can, creating that vertical force, okay? But not putting pressure in the knee. So eventually when we get better, we will shift that knee forward, but right now we're looking at getting the pressure into the hip itself, pushing through the right foot, and we're just gonna start tapping that left foot out to the side, okay? So if you can notice, Sam is not shifting his weight to the left. He's creating vertical force through his right foot, through that kinetic chain right here, stabilization at the hip, offloading the knee, working the hip muscles itself on that right side, on this side. Good, yes, you're gonna feel it here, but most of the stabilization is coming through that right hip so that we can learn to stabilize through this foot and taking pressure off of this knee. 5 to 8 on each side is a great way to transition back to that weight-bearing position and get those hip activated so you can take pressure off of your knee and you can move pain-free throughout your day.